back to another yoga flow. Today we're just going to do a simple 10-minute yoga flow focusing on the lower body and lower extremities, the legs, the calves, the thighs, all that good stuff. So if you are looking to stretch, release, maybe strengthen a little bit those areas, this flow is for you. Gonna take about 10 minutes, no props are required. If you use props on a regular basis though, please feel free to have those at the ready. And otherwise, we will get started. We're gonna start today in tabletop position. So, tabletop being, we bring our shoulders over our elbows, over our wrists. We're actively splaying out the fingers, pressing away from the mat. Hips are over the knees. Nice neutral spine looking down towards the ground, okay? From here, we're going to, instead of taking a little bit of cat-cow, which I understand if you thought we were gonna do that. If you've been doing the flows with me for a while, it's definitely my shit. Instead, we're gonna crawl the fingers forward and kind of reach the pelvis down towards the mat, coming up onto our forearms. Fingers still splayed. We are then going to reach the chest up, coming into a sphinx just to stretch the back out a little bit here. We're gonna hold this posture about 3 breaths. For any flow I do, we typically hold postures 3 breaths, okay? So 3 deep breaths here, just because I think it's important to know how long you're gonna be in a pose and what you can expect from them. Very good. Let's lower the chest down to the mat. Use the hands to frame the chest, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat as well. Elbows are in, pointed upwards towards the ceiling, and we're going to press away from the mat, lifting up even more, coming into a cobra pose. 3 more breaths here. And if this is too much, you can always feel free to play with the bend you have in your elbows to come a little bit lower. But overall, we really want to reach the chest up and high and roll the shoulders down along this lower part of the spine, or the mid-spine, I should say. Good. Lowering back down to the mat. Let's inhale to lift. Meet back in our tabletop posture, and we're just going to get into it. So we're going to take our right foot to start, and we're going to step it between our hands. Now, if you have blocks or use blocks, great opportunity to use some blocks here under the hands to give you a little bit more height. Otherwise, we're going to hold here, bring the body forward and come into a low lunge, really focusing on this left hip flexor and melting it down and towards the mat. Holding here for 3 deep breaths. If you don't want to use some blocks or wouldn't care to, you can always come up onto your fingertips as well. Good, one last deep breath here. Very good. Framing the foot with the hands, pressing them into the earth or the mat or the blocks, whatever you're using. Tuck the back foot and lift that back leg. Once you're here, we're going to take this front right leg and we're going to kind of place it where the knee is towards the right hand and the foot is under the left. So we're coming into a pigeon pose. You can scoot that back foot back to give you a little bit more length here. Place the back foot so the top of the foot is on the mat. Walk your hands down and come into a little bit of a reclined position here. Now, if your leg doesn't go straight, I'm sure you've all seen where the knee is fully in line with the ankle. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. I think that's a really hard thing to do, especially for beginner yogis. For me even, I've been doing this a long time and it's still very difficult for me to keep a straight leg there. So it's not fully straight, don't worry about it. 2 more breaths. And we're still squaring our hips down towards the mat. Really getting into that outer right hip. Good, inhale to lift up. Coming up onto our hands, we're going to kick this back leg here, and you can do one of 2 things. You can reach back with your left hand and kind of bend here to get that stretch in the upper thigh, or you can also use a strap to help do this if this is not super accessible. Holding here. This is a variation of king pigeon, but we're going to keep our right hand on the mat to give us a little bit of stability. Breathe through the stretch. Very good. Exhale to release. Plant those hands right back onto the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back leg, slide, and come into your first downward facing dog. Now once we're here, we're just going to hold this posture for a couple deep breaths. 2 deep breaths to be exact. And on the next inhale, you're going to bend the right knee, keeping the left leg straight, and hold for an additional 2 breaths. Really letting the brunt of the stretch come into the back body of the left leg. Exhale to switch. Also totally okay if the heels don't reach the mat during this time. Very good. Exhale to straighten and then immediately come back down into that tabletop posture. And let's just do that sequence on the other side. So left foot steps in between the hands. Right foot is not tucked and the top of the foot is on the mat. Again, squaring off through those hips, melting the right hip flexor towards the mat this time. Coming up onto fingers, blocks, or just using the mat. Very good. Hands come back fully to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift. Bring that left leg into your pigeon stance. Square those hips so they're flush with the top of the mat. And when you're ready, you can choose, by the way, to stay up or walk the hands forward and rest the head on your folded arms. Very good. We're going to once more inhale, come up. Get ready. As we keep our left hand on the mat, right foot kicks up. We grab a hold of it with our right hand or our strap if we are able. And just pulling that foot directly into the right side body. Breathing as we look straight ahead. Nice deep stretch here. Very good, release. Square the hands to the top of the mat, tuck the back foot, step back to our downward dog once more. We're gonna take that same leg stretch that we did in the first downward dog. So you can go right into it, inhaling to bend the right leg, keeping the left leg straight. Noticing now if maybe the heel can reach a little bit closer to the mat. Seeing if your flexibility has changed with the little movements we've done today. Exhale to switch. Very good. Back to our neutral downward facing dog. On your next exhale, you can come back down to the mat, flip over onto your back. Once we're here, make sure you take out any hair clips when you're on your back, those hurt. We're going to keep our feet directly in line with our hips. Hands and palms are going to be flush and facing the mat. We're going to take a nice deep inhale as we come into bridge pose next. So inhale as you lift your pelvis up and up and up, tucking your shoulders slightly under the upper part of the back and the scapulas. Trying to keep your knees in line with your hips. We're going to hold here for just a couple moments, just a couple breaths. If you want to challenge yourself here, you can keep your left foot grounded as you kick your right foot flexed, trying to keep it in line with the body, not letting the hips dip, for 2 deep breaths. And then you can exhale, bring it back. Adjust, recenter, switch sides. Notice if one side is maybe easier than the other. You know, for me, my right side is a little bit more challenging. Just notice it. Exhale, bring it back. Big breath in, come up a little bit higher. Exhale to release. Very good. On your next exhale, we're just going to kick the feet off the mat. Bring the knees into the chest, grab hold, and you can roll side to side here. Very good. Last little stretch here. We're just going to grab hold of our feet if we are able to. You can also grab your calves, your pant leg, whenever you're able to reach. We're going to grab and then guide those knees that are stacked directly under our ankles into our armpits, coming into our happy baby. Holding here. Option again to roll back and forth if that suits you. Noticing over time if your knees are coming even closer to your armpits. Very good. Inhale to release. Let your knees fall to the mat. And you can choose here. You can lay in any posture that's comfortable for you, or you can join me in a seated position upright. So to end these classes, you're more than welcome to take Shavasana. I personally don't utilize Shavasana for myself or my clients, but I do take a moment of maybe meditation or silence, but just a moment, not a calculated time. So regardless, I will invite you, if you are going to take Shavasana, meditate, to just think back on your practice, think about how you felt before versus how you feel now, and take that time. You can pause this video if you'd like to do it and replay it when you're ready to finish the class. When you're ready, we will inhale, lift hands all the way up overhead, holding everything we made for ourselves in our hands. As we exhale, we bring all of that down to our heart center, where it never leaves. Bowing forward, namaste. Thank you so much for following with me. It's my pleasure, and I'm excited to keep making videos for you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.